Welcome in, everybody. This is Charlie Castro. Today is Friday, March the 11th, 2016. Thank you for joining me today. This YouTube video is going to be a little bit similar to last week's, although last week we unveiled a new relationship that Philip and I developed with Auction.com, and we went over the protocol, the buying protocol for that particular list or tape. And we didn't get all of it right. It was, as typically happens when you're first learning the protocol for a new seller. There are things to learn along the way, and we certainly had our learning curve this week. So we're going to cover some more of that again today. We're going to talk about a new NPN tape we have in Chicago, so just stick around for that. I'm also going to talk about some financing that's available. We've had some really good success the last few weeks working with this particular lender with folks that we have that are looking to do buy and flips, primarily folks looking to buy something under $100,000, fix it up, and then sell it at a profit. These folks can be a really good source of money to do that with, so stay around for that as well. If you have a piece of paper and a pen handy, be ready to take some notes down. There'll be some things here that you want to know. If you're a broker and or a buyer and you've been interfacing with us for the last few weeks on this new list, please watch this 20-minute video. I always try to keep these at 20 minutes so I don't bore you or waste your time, but there's some valuable information in here. What we tried to eliminate last week was me having to do this 100 times. We literally had over 100 requests for certain markets. And I certainly don't want to spend my whole week on the phone going over protocol. So the purpose of this 20 minutes is to go over the protocol so that you understand it. We can help you be successful in your next buying endeavor. So we're going to cover a couple of different bank lists. We're going to talk about the Auction.com list again. We're going to talk about the privately owned list of REOs as well. So we're going to talk about two different REO tapes, two different personalities. One's a bank tape, one's privately owned, and the protocol is drastically different. People get asked me and Phil all the time, how do you guys get access to the properties you get? Well, a lot of it's just good fortune, and then a lot of it is the fact that we've had relationships with people over the last couple of years who were sellers, that were in the selling community, that were looking for buyers for their properties. Phil and I met one another while he was a consultant to two hedge funds, and I was selling to a couple of hedge funds, so we got to know each other like that. And so we developed a relationship, started marketing different properties for different sellers out there, giving exposure to the buying community. We work with a lot of private sellers, just individuals who have properties. We do work with a couple of banks, not a lot, but we do work with a few. Phil's got one in particular that he works with directly. We deal with a lot of hedge funds. We've got a couple of tapes right now. We've got a large tape in Phoenix, Arizona of 338 properties. We still have that. That is from a hedge fund. And one of the things the hedge funds like about what we do, by the way, and if you're a broker, take note of this, we no longer send out entire tapes. If we get a list of properties in, we don't mass market it. We don't send it out to everybody, because when you do that, what happens is people end up putting their name and phone number on it, and then they start marketing it when they're not really direct to the seller. It just creates a lot of confusion, and it's very uncomfortable for the sellers. The hedge funds like the fact that we just give a summary. On these YouTube channel videos that I've been doing, we've just been giving summaries, and we've been very effective at marketing like this. We work with a couple of REITs, wholesalers, property management companies. The list, the privately owned list we're going to show you today is owned by a property management company. And then, of course, Auction.com is new to our family of sellers. We're very happy to have a relationship with them. We've had a very good relationship building experience with them the last couple of weeks, so we're excited about doing some marketing for them now and in the future. We're direct on this one now. When I say this is the first bank tape we've been direct to, this is what I mean by that. We've seen lots of tapes, and for those of you that have been watching either my webinars over the years, or when I was doing radio for Real Estate Radio Live, or been on my YouTube channel, you know that we've seen lots of bank tapes, and we've never been direct to one. Now, that's a big deal. Let me tell you why it's a big deal. And you may think it's a big deal because there aren't as many fees. That's true. It's not a big deal because, yeah, you got a direct relationship. That's all great. But really the great part of being direct is you can get information. Many of you know that even when we were dealing with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae last year, we weren't direct to them. We were working directly with the broker, but there was layers of people we had to go through to get answers. It was very difficult to find out even status on an order you may have placed through this office. And so this relationship is unique in that we can call somebody and get them on the phone and say, I got a question, and can you please help me with this particular issue? So it's great to be direct on that. Phil and I are very fortunate to have this relationship, and we will nurture this relationship, and we will guard it. So the protocol we're going to ask you to follow is sort of, I don't want to say written in stone, but it's sort of written in stone. Okay, I did a question and answer session, just sort of anticipating some questions that you might have. So I'm going to do that for a couple slides here. So what banks do these come from? Well, it'll say so on the sheet, although we'll probably be taking those off. But Bank of America, Wells, U.S. Bank, Chase, that's just a few. I think there's about 10 or 12 different banks that they get these properties from. What are price expectations? Probably get asked that more than any other question. There's a strike price that we do receive. You need to contact us for those details. We're not going to make that public, but we know there's a strike price. You want to contact us. So when you get the list and you're looking at a certain batch of properties, if you just contact our office, we'll be glad to give you some pricing guidelines. And you want to hit that. I cannot emphasize that enough. If we say the strike price or the indicative bid on that property is $50,000, you want to come in at $50,000. And that is not market dependent. That was one thing that we got wrong last week. We were led to believe that in some markets there may be some room on what the bank's asking for. There isn't. If they don't get their strike price, it's going to go back on the next week's auction. It's just going to go to auction. It's not going to be, the price is not necessarily going to be lowered. How often do we get these lists? Great question. Thanks for asking that. We get the list every Friday. So every Friday we're going to get a new list. We have chosen to work off a couple of different lists, but we're generally going to go with the pre-auction list, which is the list that we're going to get each week that is prior to the properties going to auction. So you're going to have a little bit of time to be able to do your due diligence, do what you need to do before submitting your bid before it actually goes to auction. What if you're a broker? How do you want to make sure that somebody's not going to go around you? Because we know it's very easy to just go to auction.com's website, put in your information, make a bid. You can do that. If you submit your buyer's name and email addresses to us, we have an account at auction.com. We can put your buyer's name and information into that account. Then if they were to contact them directly, it would red flag it and it would be turned right back around to us. So there is a mechanism in place if you're a broker to be able to protect yourself if you introduce a buyer to this platform. We do get information that they can't get otherwise, so there is value in this. When we get to the fee part, you're going to see, because there is great value in what we're able to do for your buyer. So we don't believe that our value add at the price that we're asking to be paid in fees is overbearing whatsoever. We'll talk about that in a few slides. Does anybody else have the list? Yeah, there's a few others that have the list. We're not going to say we're exclusive to it. There are others out there, but it's not a huge list. So we're not exclusive, but there aren't a lot of people bidding on this with you. If you're bidding on the pre-auction list, you're not in there with 1,000 people, if that's what you're wondering about. Who will be your primary interface? Great question. After a week of this, your primary interface is going to be me and Matt. Now, if you got technical questions, you always want to call Phil. But if you have questions with regards to the list, Matt's the one that creates the list. If you got questions with regards to protocol, I've been the one in direct dialogue with auction.com to understand the protocol. If you submit a bid and you're bidding with other people, that is going to flow back to me. So in other words, you submit a bid for $50,000, you're bidding against somebody else, they bid that up a little bit. I will be on the phone with auction.com to find out what area you may want to come into to offer your next bid at in order to be able to acquire that particular piece of property. So primarily your interface is going to be myself and Matt is the list master. So if you're looking for a list, talk to Matt. We'll talk about that here in a few slides. All right, what's the protocol? You got to sign our NDA first. We do not want this list going viral, folks. We can't say that enough. We want to protect the integrity of this particular list and the people that provided it to us. And in order to do that, we need you to sign an NDA. We do not want you sharing. Can you share it with a buyer? Absolutely. Can you put it on Facebook? No. Can you share it on LinkedIn? No. This is not meant for you to take out in mass market. It's meant for you to take to a buyer and to be able to provide your buyer with a list of properties that they can't see someplace else. The next step is to request a list of properties in your market. We are not going to send out the entire list. Why? We know what happens when you send out an entire list. Inevitably, it ends up in somebody's hands who decides to put their name and phone number on it, and we don't want that. So we're going to protect the integrity by not sending out the entire list to anyone. So if you're looking for properties in Indiana and Michigan and Illinois, no problem. You contact us. We'll get you those lists in that particular market. You got to do your own due diligence. Getting access is up to you, and I can't emphasize that enough. These are sold as is, where is. So these are it's just like you're buying from an auction. If you go down to the courthouse steps to buy a property, you don't get to run off and go view the property. You're bidding on that property right there on the spot. This is very similar. You're going to bid on the property. If you're awarded the property, you're going to get the property, but you're not going to have time to go out there and well, you're going to have a little bit of time. This is pre-auction, but it's as is, where is. So if you buy the property and you get into it and there's damage done to the kitchen, there's damage done to the kitchen. It's as is, where is. Submit your letter of intent and offer with proof of funds. I don't need necessarily a formal letter of intent. I do need a verifiable proof of funds. The POF is actually more important. We will be making these offers online on your behalf. So therefore, the LOI is really secondary. Do we want one? Yep. We need to have your offer price with the fee amounts in there. But the proof of funds is really what's most important, verifying that you have the financial capabilities of taking that property down. You got to be accompanied by a fee agreement. Most folks are just putting the fees right in the letter of intent, and that's fine. It's going to go on to the agreement that goes to the title company. Now, our fee is very important. Now, this is a very important part because I have re-explained this a dozen times the last week. If you're a broker, you have to add on top of this and note something, that if you send your buyer directly to me, which is fine, I encourage that. I'd rather talk directly to your buyer. If you do that, that's great. It's encouraged. However, I'm not going to talk fees with your buyer, because I don't know what you've told your buyer. If you've told them that you want 2 points or 3 points or whatever it is, that's between you and your buyer. I don't care. We're asking for $2,000 per property up to $100,000. So if it's below $100,000, our fee is $2,000. Anything over $100,000, we're asking for 2%. We think that's more than reasonable. We've seen other people market these types of lists for up to 6%. Actually, that's not true. There's a Hudson and Marshall list bouncing around right now that I was sent the other day to market for those folks. These guys wanted 8.5% to them. So 2% is not ominous. We've left enough room in there that if you're a broker, you can very easily tag on top of that 2%, be able to make a profit and not be an ominous fee for your buyer. So $2,000 per property goes to us, under $100,000. If the property is over $100,000, it's 2% across the board. This is just an example of the list, and I'm not going to spend much time on this. This is really just to give you a sort of a snapshot of what the list looks like. It's quite large. We're only going to send you with properties in your particular market. You'll want to contact us to learn more about the indicative bid strike price range. But this is what the list looks like. And again, when you get the list, myself or Matt can walk you through it. There's a lot of columns by this. This isn't the entire list. This is much wider, thicker, deeper, and higher. So this is a bigger list than what you're looking at here on the screen. There wouldn't be enough room on the screen for the entire list. But we'll want to walk you through what some of those columns mean. So feel free to contact us with that. Now, when you make your offer, I talked about an LOI and a verifiable proof of funds. That's important. If you win the bid, you're going to have 24 hours to sign the agreement. So within 24 hours, you're going to get a contract to sign. There's an earnest money deposit of $2,500 per property or 5%, whichever is higher. Title can be conveyed by either quitclaim or special warranty deed. And there will be a column on the sheet that'll say that, quitclaim or warranty deed. Most folks are going to ask for a warranty deed. We totally understand that. We're going to use First American Title Company. The buyer does pay the closing fees, so factor that in. Those obviously are not ominous numbers, but you will be paying the fees. And by the way, the title company that you use to close with is not a deal breaker. So if you call, I had somebody the other day that's going to be sending a bunch of offers today in Illinois, and they said, can we use our title company? They want to use Chicago Title. That's not a deal breaker. If you want to use Chicago Title or somebody else, the title company is not a deal breaker. As long as it's a legitimate group, auction.com is not going to care. Closing will take place anywhere from 20 to 45 days. That obviously depends on whether it's quick claim, whether it's a warranty deed, and whatever goes on during the title process. We all know how that works. And again, properties are sold as is where. So remember, even though you have a few weeks, you typically a week to 2 weeks prior to the particular property going to auction, so you have a little bit of time to do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. If you get access to the property however you need to, go look in the windows, do whatever you got to do before you submit your bid, because once you get the contract, you're locked in. You're going to put up earnest money. It's not going to be refundable. You won the bid, you got the property, you got a good deal on the property. That's all wonderful, but don't expect to unring the bell down the road. That earnest money will go hard. Okay, now to requesting the bank property. This is an important slide, so please write this information down here. To make this as smooth as possible, we've already created a database of buyers, and so we started that last week. Kudos to Matt Castro for working very hard all week long to develop a database. If you send Matt one email with the markets that you want and the people you want that list sent to, so let's just say it's to you and your buyer, Harry Jones, you put the emails on there. This goes into a database. Every week when Matt gets a new list, or every time he gets a new list or a new opportunity, maybe we get a couple properties during the week that they're trying to get rid of, whatever the case may be, you'll get those automatically. So as soon as that's entered into our database, you'll get that list automatically every Friday, or as we get properties from auction.com. Now, you want to send this to matt.castro91@gmail.com. That's the email address the red there right in the middle. Now, that email is only for auction.com. So if you're talking to Matt about the basketball game last night, probably don't want to email that address. He's got a Yahoo account. You can use that. But that address there is only for auction.com, matt.castro91@gmail.com. Again, preferably all in one email. Don't cut it up. Who you want it sent to, what markets you want. Obviously, if that evolves and next week you want different markets, you can add that too, but only in one email, please. That'll help us get you the inventory as fast as we possibly can. Now, I'm shifting gears now. This is very important. I'm shifting gears now. This is a different seller. Now, these are also REOs, but this is not a bank tape. These are all privately owned properties, and these are bought through a number of sources. They're bought through Freddie and Fannie. They're bought through on the courthouse steps, bank sales, tax dumps. These are bought through a number of varieties, and these guys then sell these properties through one of three methods. They either sell them on a land contract to an owner-occupant, or they sell them on the MLS if somebody's going to pay full price, which is rare, or they're going to sell them through people like me. There's about 6 people like Charlie in the country that get this list every month, and we sell them to investors. And so we have a lot of luck with this tape. If you say tape number 111, we'll know what that is. Again, we do not send this tape out in order to protect the integrity of the seller. So we only send out pieces of the tape in your markets. Please don't tell us that you buy in all 50 states because nobody does. Just tell us the tape, the markets that you're in. Matt will make you a list and tape. By the way, all this goes to Matt. Whenever you're asking for a tape, send all information to Matt. Now, the buying protocol on this is very important. It's strikingly different than what we just did with auction.com. It's the polar opposite. But the procedure is very similar in this regard. You request the list of properties in your buying area. We're not going to send out the whole list, but if you tell us the market you're in, we'll send you the list in that area. You can get access codes to these. These are not going to go to auction for the most part, although some of these do, but not for the most part. Request the access codes. We'll get you the access codes. You can go take a peek. Again, just like the auction.com tape, you got to do your own due diligence. You got to conclude on your own. Don't expect them to tell you what the condition of the roof is. They're not going to do that. So you got to do that all yourself. Check for tax liens. Check for water liens. You got to look for all that stuff. The ask price on the spreadsheet is not firm. Again, strikingly different from the auction.com list. When we tell you what the strike price is, that's the strike price. You hit that price, you're going to win the bid on that property. If on this list, it's I shouldn't say it's the opposite. There are going to be some properties on this list that they're going to stick to their asking price because maybe they've, when they buy these properties, they do an inspection immediately so they know what the condition of the property is. But we've seen properties be sold off this list for as little as 50% of their asking price. So the price is not firm. Now, when you make your bid, you want to be sensitive to the fact that they do know the conditions. So if they're offering 50 grand for a property, don't offer them 20 if it's in decent shape. These, again, do not need an LOI or a PO. If I don't need none of that, I have a relationship with those folks. All I do is just send them an email, say I'll give you 20 grand for this property. I negotiate the price for you. They pay us our fees. It's a real simple process. Now, these are REOs, so there's not going to be any, well, that's poor grammar. There is no such thing as a 30-day close. If you commit to one of these properties, you're going to be going to escrow the next day. So I've seen these close in less than 5 days. Quick claim, warranty deed, but don't expect to have a 30-day close. These will close these are REOs. If you're buying an REO for $10,000, you got to be prepared to go to the closing table the next week. Title can be conveyed by either quick claim or warranty. I said that. We are paid by the seller. Unlike the auction.com list, in auction.com, we're going to send that list out only by state. We don't want to break that down by zips and counties and cities, and simply because it's such a large list. This list here, if you give me zips, if you give me counties or cities, we can break these up. Please do not, Matt, this is Matt's request, please do not ask for things like, give me the ones in the good areas, or give me the north side of Chicago. With all due respect, we're in Southern California. I have no idea what the south side or the north side of Chicago would be, or the Atlanta suburbs for that matter. So be specific in your request for lists. Switching gears again for this week, and I didn't put a number on here, darn it, just say the Illinois NPNs. I featured this one this week because this is some really good buys in this. These, if you look at the value column, those were actually done by an appraisal. So you got a $1,100,000 value on that property. The note amount, the unpaid balance is $500,000. The seller is willing to accept 65%. I said accept 65% of $500,000. So you're getting that property for around $320. I'm just doing some quick math in my head. That's like $325 on $1 million property. These are some really good, really well valued notes. If you're looking for NPNs in the Chicago market, give us a call. We can provide those to you. If you're looking for money, now both the tapes we just talked about, both auction.com and the private group of REOs, a lot of those are going to be fix and flips. I mean, a lot of you buy these for the purpose of buying them and then fixing them up and then doing a flip. Not everybody, especially the auction.com stuff. A lot of that stuff is going to be beautiful for a buy and hold portfolio. But for those looking to do a fix and flip, as a matter of fact, most of the people that buy off that REO list, the private REO list, the second list I just covered, the majority of the people that buy off that list are looking to do a flip. If you're looking to do a flip, I'm not going to go through the details, but we've got a lender we've been working with. We've had some really good success working with these folks. You get approved pretty quick. It's an easy loan to acquire. If you're looking to get the money to buy the property and the money for the rehab costs, it's a great program for fix and flippers, so contact us about that. And I did that in 19 minutes and 20 seconds. I said I'd keep it to 20 minutes. So my name is Charlie Castro. I want to thank you for being on with us today. Phil and I thank you for your patronage the last 10 days. We're really looking forward to this relationship. Contact matt.castro91@gmail.com to acquire a list. We'll be doing one of these again midweek next week because a lot of the inventory that we got in this week we didn't talk about. We signed an agreement this week with Own America, so we'll be marketing some products from properties for them that are rehab, cash flowing, beautiful properties. We're going to have our own link to our own website that'll be able to take you to that inventory. I had no time to do any of that this past week, so we're going to focus on that midweek next week. So be on the lookout for that. So that's it for this week. My name is Charlie Castro. Thanks for joining me today. Look forward to talking to you. Have a